Hello, people. Good evening, good morning, afternoon, good night, wherever you're at. Welcome to sorry, welcome to Adobe Live Sessions, part two of Concept Amaterasu. The title is probably gonna give away where this is gonna end up. So, hello for those that if you're new here, definitely check out part one of this and see how we got to this part that we're at right now. Yeah, I'm gonna welcome you to Barkham Art Studios or BKA Studios for short. If you're interested in seeing more of my work, you can follow the Instagram links at the bottom in the description below. And if you're interested in purchasing any work, as of the moment, my website is down, but you can definitely just email me for any sort of inquiries. And from there, we can definitely sort out what it is that you may potentially be interested in. Like I said, this is part two of the video of Concept Amaterasu. Part one can be found on my channel. It should be in the suggested videos, video suggestions. It should be there. Right. So we're gonna continue where we left off. Yeah, continue where we left off. So where I left off was basically like this. Her hair was looking a bit mad, so that's definitely the first thing we got to sort out. For those that don't know, my name is Gus Brooks Simpson. I am an artist from South London, born, bred, raised, and obviously the nature of my work is always sort of pertaining to, well, I want to say it pertains to anything in particular. No, I would say it does, but the way I would like to say it is, it's a very large, expansive in the themes in which it represents that I explore. But I guess it would just be humanity, humans, and their connection and their interest in deity, what we consider deities, high consciousness, things of that nature. Philosophy as well is a large component of my interests, and it definitely has an influence on my work for sure. So if any of that kind of stuff resonates with you, you're in the right place for sure. Right. So actually, we talk a bit more about this piece that we're working on. So this piece is sorry, I'm it's hard to actually work and talk at the same time. It's not as easy as I thought it would be, and I've come from someone who loves to talk, but talking and at the same time being coherent with the things I say, and at the same time being productive while doing this is a bit difficult. But I guess the more I do it, the more easier it will become. Yeah, so this is Concept Amaterasu, and this is going to probably end up with her being on fire or something. If you know a bit of background on Amaterasu, Amaterasu is a Japanese deity, a sun deity, a solar deity. But what is interesting about Amaterasu compared to a lot of other cultures is that it's a female. So in most other cultures, the solar deity is normally personified as masculine as the male, but with the Japanese, Amaterasu is a female, so that's very interesting. That's always been an interest of mine. Yeah, I don't know where you would if you wasn't aware of that. Now you are, so that is another interest of mine. Just religion, spirituality, themes, and deities have always been something of an interest of mine. And so I'm basically doing my version of what Amaterasu would be like, or rather, I'm making a piece with the concept of Amaterasu in mind, which, if you want to break it down without, because one thing you do have to sort of be mindful of is when you're dealing with cultures that you are not necessarily a part of, or you haven't grown within that culture, or you're not from that culture. You have to be mindful when you start taking things from that culture and from more or less um, remixing them. Yeah, you have to be mindful with that. Or, I mean, no one's ever told me I have to be mindful of that, but that is something within myself. No one's had to tell me that. Some people do need to be told, sadly, that you have to be very respectful when it comes to these sort of things. Like there's nothing wrong with doing your take. Like even down to like video game designers and stuff, they've had to at times pull certain work or certain things. They've had to make modification in the work because they get they get pushback from people within certain communities. So that is something you would want to be mindful of. But bearing that in mind, creative liberty and your creative license should definitely and shouldn't shouldn't stop you from being respectful, but at the same time, it's really about how you exercise certain things. They say with great power comes great responsibility. So you do have to be mindful of these kind of things. That being said, at the same time, though, it's a when it comes to stuff like deities and that and gods, for lack of a better term, just to say it more simply, yeah, what does a god look like? You're gonna always see different variations, even within said culture. You will get different sort of variations of how they will look, and so like nothing's concrete. So it's not like you're taking a real person. It's not like you're taking a picture of whoever, right? You're not taking a real person. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you say a real person, you're not taking an image of someone that has an image. You know what they look like, and then you choose to go and do something else with that. Which again, there's nothing wrong with that to a certain extent, but this is the thing. Nothing's really set in stone. You really do have to use your discernment to know what is appropriate and what isn't. And again, especially when you're dealing with a culture that is outside of yours traditionally, your traditional culture, it's you do have to be careful. You do. You should be mindful. You should have extra. Like you should be respectful anyway, right, of whatever culture it is. But even more so when it isn't something that you're a culture that you're from, you have to be even more so respectful. You should take extra care as to not offend. But again, at the same time, it's art, so it's always gonna offend somebody. Always. That's what I believe. I believe. Look at that. I've put all that in the wrong frame again. Yeah, I believe art because I don't make my art to be what's the word I want to use? You know, I don't think, oh well, I can't be offensive within my art, and I don't think like that. I just make what I do, but I do keep certain things in mind for sure, and I would encourage everyone to do this, every artist to do the same. But no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't encourage another artist to do the same. Because even my work, there is some pieces of my work that I know offend people, and I'll be damned if I let anyone tell me, no, you shouldn't do it like that. You can't do it like that. Whatever the case may be, right? Whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's not how I operate as an artist. You know, like it's not. And I'll be honest, like if that is how you operate as an artist, I don't really feel like what you're making is. I mean, it is art, right? But I feel like art's meant to be liberating to the point where you are always treading that line of maybe what you're doing can be Like if you make art and no one has anything bad ever to say about your artwork, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad artist to me, but it definitely means not that you're playing it safe. Like I said, because I'm not, you don't, I don't make my work to be intentionally controversial. But I, by my nature, by my views and opinions on certain things, I'm controversial, and the only way you can know something like that is by obviously engaging with people, in conversation and that. And I've engaged with enough conversations with enough people to definitely know that some of my opinions on things can be considered problematic, or whatever, however someone want to say my work is, or even what I am rather. So naturally, when it comes to my work is a product of me. It is me. So you're going to again. I feel like you're going to get that to some extent. Um, yeah, that's what I feel like. So, but the reason I brought that up was again, you need to be mindful of the things you do within art, the things you create. You do have to be mindful of, and I definitely believe that is something one should always take into consideration when they're creating. I've done a few exhibitions in my time, and I've exhibited with numerous artists. And one time I had the pleasure of exhibiting with an artist who was much older than me, and much more experienced than me. And he pulled me to the side, and he actually said to me like, "You need to be careful of what you exhibit." And he was talking in regards to a certain piece that I had been exhibiting. And you know, part of me was thinking, yeah, well, that's just, I just kind of just took it. I thought, yeah, yeah, But obviously, first of all, obviously, I know my guy was only trying to be helpful, and offer me some wisdom, But at the same time, I feel like that is the crux of what art is. If someone's not saying not pulling you to the side, but if someone hasn't got a sort of like, oh, you know what, that might be a bit, from time to time, then not that you're working good, but I just feel like that's what art is. Art should be having should be encouraging them, sort of promoting them kind of conversations to be had. Oh, is this a bit too much? At some point, like it should do that. Like, and again, I'm not saying that like you should go out to intentionally set out to intentionally get that sort of reaction from your work. But again, as like I said, for you, just by who I am, by my nature, you know, um, that reaction is what I get sometimes, and I feel like those that do know me on a personal level, they can say before I was putting my artwork out there, it would be something I would say that maybe would garner that sort of reaction. Oh, where is he coming from with this? What angle is he coming from? And it ties into everything. Down to what you read and what you watch, and it's an all encompassing thing. I feel like if you sort of transcend certain cultural norm, especially if you come from a very a very a household that's very culturally rooted in certain traditions and ideas and beliefs in certain things, but naturally, like if you are like that, you're gonna even not even deviate. It's not what I want to use, because deviation is something different from simply asking questions. If you are one to ask questions, I do believe you're more predisposed to thinking outside the box, because you're asking questions that people don't ask questions to. You know, like some people don't ask questions. Like that's just how they are. They just take what they hear, what they're given, and they run with it. As opposed to certain other people, they ask questions. I've always been one to ask questions. You know, I've always been one to ask questions, and maybe not always, and it's always no, it has always been from a sincere place. I never ask questions just to ask the question and make someone seem silly. But I ask questions because no, I need to know where you're coming from, like, and I need to know whether you've actually thought about what you're saying. I need to know like, especially with my teachers in school. I used to ask my teachers questions, especially my science teacher. Like, And especially if I disagreed with certain things, I would ask, I would inquire and ask a question, and he would get annoyed. And I'm like, this is a place of learning. Why are you irritated that I'm asking a question? And maybe it was because I wasn't really the most academic child, so most time I wasn't actually paying attention in school. So when I was like paying attention enough to actually ask a question, they probably think I'm just trying to take the mick. So I don't know. That's just one sort of theory, but I do believe it was more so the questioning of authority that they probably find annoying as opposed to the actual question that I was asking. Because again, in an academic institution, why would you be annoyed and irritated that a child is asking a question? A child, yeah, a child, because I never, as an adult, I haven't been in any sort of higher learning. It was all through until I was 15 to 17 actually, 17, but 15 was when I went through my mandatory. Everything after that was more so I didn't actually have to be there, but I still just went just because I honestly didn't have nothing better to do, and that's something that I had to something I struggled with. It's purpose. I was left, I left school and I was very sort of, what do I do from here? I wasn't too sure about myself. And would I say school played a part in that? I would say to an extent, but I will take most of the responsibility and say, you know what? Yeah, I didn't know what to do with myself, and school didn't necessarily help with that. Definitely didn't help. But I'm not gonna pin it on school and say, oh, they left me to the dogs. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna say simply that school definitely didn't help with me as an individual trying to find out what I was actually suited to do, what I wanted to do. I didn't get that from school. I had to get that from myself. Again, like my peers around me, the people around me, the kids in my class. Yeah, that they weren't of much help regarding that, and nor should they be. Nor should they be. I feel like it's very important that one spends time by themselves so they can actually figure out what it is and who they are and what it is they're here to do. Because I don't feel like school nor any other individual can tell you. They might show you, they might, inadvertently, or you may come across someone who's able to cultivate and bring out something within you. But I have to say, in school, I didn't get that. I didn't get that personally in school. So I was sort of left to my own devices, and it's only through self autodidactic learning and self analysis and these things that I was able to figure out what it is I'm here to do to a degree, or things I would like to do, how I would like to spend my time. You know, again, like I said, I'm still growing, I'm still learning, and you know, I don't know, I don't know if in 10 years' time if I'll be doing what I'm doing now, but I know to some degree it will be related to some extent of what I'm doing now. You know, for sure. So what we're doing here, I've been rambling for a bit. What we're doing here, I'm just adding. So if you do know about sort of Japanese culture a little bit, and especially if you probably into anime and that, you know about the Sakura tree. And this isn't necessarily a Sakura tree, but it is definitely inspired by the stylistic way in which it's conveyed through art mediums. Because I've never actually seen a Sakura tree before yet. We say yet because I definitely, speaking into existence, I will see one before I die in the flesh. Yeah, absolutely. Is it a life goal of mine? It's not, but it's definitely something that I am going to make happen. Right, I'm gonna see a Sakura tree. I'm gonna sit under one. Um, you know, that is something I will make sure I do within my lifetime. Even with all the travel restrictions in place right now, I'm definitely not letting that. It may look a bit grim and a bit bleak that will happen as of the moment, but come on, man, nothing lasts forever. That's the attitude I'm having, and nothing will stop me from doing that other than myself. So, if there's a will, there's a way. Absolutely, that's what I believe. And better find a way, innit? Better find a way. All right. So I've added a bit of detail to the tree. I can definitely I could definitely leave that there for the time being. I could add some to the other ones. I could do that. I could do that. I will do that. Just make sure I'm working on the right layer, because that's, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that's something that I struggle with always. Working on the right layer, making sure the layer that I'm using is actually the right appropriate one. It's not nice. It's not nice, as I've probably expressed numerous times. So I try my best to be vigilant. Trying my best to be vigilant, and it's a learning process. And like I said, doing stuff like this, doing these Adobe sessions, definitely gonna probably make me more conscientious of the layers that I'm working on. Can I say conscientious like that? I don't know. Yeah, that's the goal, you know. And even if it is a slow progression is better than no progression, you know. Um, I believe that wholeheartedly. Cool. So we're working on the trees at the moment, the sakura trees. Um, Again, like these are just, it's very beautiful, you know. A lot of my inspiration comes from manga, anime, and I'll probably even go further and just say it's Asian, just art within Asia, down to even like the religious depictions of deities, whether it's in Hinduism, whether it's Buddhism. Well, Buddhism is very close to Hinduism, you know. It's the the way they depict just the people and the colors that they use, and even the colors of the people, because you'll have some deities in blue, some will be in red, and I've always just found it very deeply fascinating. And I remember being even younger, when I was very young, like under 10 years old. I remember kind of thinking that, oh, not that it weren't real, you know, can't say it like that, but I was just thinking, how can anyone believe in something like this? That's what I used to feel when I was younger, but as I get older, I realize that's just a fully outlook that I've had to bite my tongue on that, because a lot of that stuff now, you know, I believe it's not even a matter of whether you believe it on. Well, it is. It's just it simply is a matter of belief with a lot of things, you know. And us as humans, what can we prove really beyond our science and our physics, and even that, you know, people are privy to saying, "Oh, science has proved this and that and whatnot." Yeah, okay, but those individual scientists proved that. But what have you proved? You're just going by what someone else has said. Have you taken those tools and those things that they use and come to your own conclusion, or are you simply just going by what someone else said? And most times, with most things, especially those who are strong advocates of science, they rarely have done the necessary um, the necessary the necessary things you would do to reach a conclusion, the conclusion that the said scientist has done, you know. Oh, we don't need to. The scientists have already done it. Well, that's just a very lazy. That's a very lazy, insincere, ingenuine response, in my opinion. Observate. Yeah, your observate. Have you done the observations? Have you done the? Damn, what's the word? Escapes me completely. Have you done what that scientist done? The observations and the research and obviously the one thing, the practical thing that you would do. Wow, my mind's really blank. But this is what happens when you're doing two things at once. Like I literally can't think of that word. It's at the tip of my tongue. the fear, the practical theorem behind it. Wow, the word really, I really can't think of it. Yeah, but did you go out into the fields and do that? You didn't. Like, did you get the instruments and do the mathematics and the measurements of yourself to come to whatever said conclusion you've come to? No, you haven't done none of that. You just said, "Oh, scientist A, B, Z, Y said it." So, and you go on Wikipedia as your source, and it's just very lazy. It's just lazy a lot of the times. It's just not. It's not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. But everyone has different ways of doing things, and that's what I'm saying. But if you was to do what that scientist did, and maybe you come up with a different answer, but you don't know that because you're not willing to even go out there and try. And that's just the way it is. A lot of things like we just take people's word for things. We're not willing to do our own. What's the word? Wow, wow. Let me just be quiet regarding that because the word is not even coming to me. It's something so simple. It's like basic, basic. Like it's a basic word in the science world. Um, Crazy. Anyway, let's move from that because I'm just probably making myself look silly. Um, Again, in it, like it is a bit. It is putting a bit of pressure on my brain, like a new pressure to be able to actually talk, make sense, say, and actually be saying something. Wow, I'm doing this. I should probably focus more on this and talk about what I'm doing. So I'm just adding little dots to this to the quote unquote sacco tree, and I mean these aren't necessarily there to represent leaves as much as it is to just sort of give the the illusion, I suppose, would be the best word because there's nothing actually beyond it being dots. It's actually nothing. Give the illusion of a sort of like a gradient to it, like it's layered and there's parts to it, as opposed to just like leaving it blank like that. That looks like there's actually something going on there. There's many pieces to it. This just like one flat color, which it is. It's just one flat color until I start adding the things to it, adding different colors to it. And that's the thing about shading and adding multiple colors to something. That is something I've learned I don't want to say quite recently, but it's something I've grown to appreciate more, I could say, you know. But again, it depends what you're doing. Sometimes flat colors definitely work better. Definitely work better. It all depends on what you're trying to do, and even then, there's so many ways to do it. So again, with art, the thing I like is no one can come on this video and tell me I'm doing it wrong. Which is comforting because you're probably always gonna get someone that's telling you, "Oh, you're doing it wrong. You can't do art wrong." There may be more effective and efficient ways to do something. I mean, when it comes to maybe the like how to use a paintbrush, I think there could be a right wrong way. There's definitely a right way to use it. Again, there's a more efficient way. You can't say someone's wrong because it depends what they're trying to do. For what they're trying, if they're trying to get like one flat solid color, your application of the paint to the said canvas would be a lot different as if you're trying to do let's say what I'm doing here now and add small little dots. It would be different, and thus how you would apply it would be different. So I guess everything is sort of like nuanced in that as well. But there's no right or wrong way, which is nice. It gives so much freedom. And I'm not necessarily a person to. Oh, wow, sorry. I'm not necessarily a person to adhere to quote unquote ABC linear thinking sort of like rules, I guess, if you want to use, for lack of a better term, rules. When it comes to rules, I really like to do things my way, and sometimes my way is not necessarily the right way. But that's the thing. Like, I feel like as humans, we're like that. We're gonna have our own way of doing things, and if we're all thinking and doing it the same way, then I think personally that stuff is a bit strange. If we have all these different humans all unique in their own right, but we're all here doing things the same way, you know, very odd, very odd. Like, but people must have thought, and people will think you're bugging when you do things differently. Like, imagine the first person who wore his cap backwards. Someone must have thought, "What are you doing, mate?" You know, he's lost it. Like, why are you wearing your cap backwards? What can we say? That person. What would what would life be without a couple guys wearing their hats backwards, caps backwards? You know what I'm saying? What would life be? You know what I mean? Especially if you're with your friends and all your friends are wearing caps. Come on, man, you gotta have one of them that's wearing it backwards. You can't all be wearing your hat frontwards like that. You know, and it's normally the let's be real, it's normally the quote unquote cool guy that wants to wear his hat backwards, the cap backwards. Especially back in school and that. I don't know how it is now as adults. Like as adults we just do what we want, but I remember back being young and that if I was wearing my cap backwards, I was definitely feeling myself that day. You know, I was definitely feeling cool, swag. Well, that's what we called it back then. I don't know what they call it now. Drip. They call it drip, right? Yeah, the drip. Yeah, you're definitely dripping if you're wearing your cap backwards. You know what I'm saying? You're definitely. It's an energy thing. You know, it's definitely an energy thing. Like you see someone wearing a cap backwards, it's an energy thing. You know, it's a very youthful expression as well. I feel like generally, but I feel like that's changing now with this obviously with as we get older and that because I feel like our generation, my generation, I'm a '90s baby, so I feel like my generation is very still very young at heart. Can I say it like that? We're still very young at heart. Like yeah, we may have our own houses, our own spaces, our own sort of our responsibilities and that, but like we may even have children, you know what I mean, children even, but still, I feel like we're very youthful at heart. We're still very young at heart. Like we still, maybe I don't know what it is that what that comes down to. Like we probably still play video games. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's for kids, but I'm saying that might be it. That might be a reason why. You know, I don't know the reason why we seem like that. You know, um, I don't know, man. Like my dad's generation at this age, you'd be married, fam. You know what I mean? And if you weren't, there was probably something wrong with you. Like, well, I wouldn't say there's something wrong with you, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure as someone, if you're around my age, you know what I'm saying. Like, our generation, things just seem to be moving more slowly, you know? And it's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just what it is for the time, you know? It is what it is. Like, it's not about, you know what? I could make that water a bit one stroke less. Yeah, so I think it's down to a lot of things actually. Though I feel like maybe definitely the TV we're watching. I definitely feel like the media we consume has definitely had an impact on that. You know, I'm not saying our generation is immature, but I'm definitely saying that our we are a very youthful generation. I feel like you know in a lot of ways like our sensibilities and our tastes, generally speaking, amongst the generation. We got to get some people, just like you got to get some. You got to get some people that may be generally younger in their disposition or their way of thinking, as opposed to the sort of the majority. But I would say through like mainly there's a like how many of us in our generation like maybe see us walk around wearing suits, you know what I mean, on a day off. But I just feel that's just sort of like the change in culture, and that's another thing we need to like you would take into account. The culture's changed. Like my dad, I didn't see my dad wearing it. I never saw my dad wearing a tracksuit until you know what I mean, until like he started going gym and that, and that's not yeah. But and like on his day offs and that, now he might just wear a little, but not the tracksuits I would wear, but still like leisure wear, like relaxed. But most time, growing up, my dad was wearing not suits and that, but man was looking sharp in that. You feel me? My dad was out here, and my dad wasn't. My dad's never worked in no like office space like that. My dad's always been a self-employed man for most of my life. That's how I've grown up. Like seeing my dad would go to work. You know, my dad's a tailor, so he would, you feel me? He always had his own thing going on, and naturally, as a tailor, you can imagine. Yeah, crisp, sharp. My man used to be dressing. Obviously, he's a bit older now. You know what I mean? Doesn't He's not working as much. He's more relaxed, so you get he be chilling in leisure wear and that. But growing up, I definitely had a lot to look up to in that regard. But I don't be walking around like dressed like that. Most time I'm just out here still in my tracksuit and that. But there's still levels to it, innit? Like there's still levels to it. I know about the seams and the hems, and I know how to fold my trousers correctly. Do you know what I'm saying? These things my dad taught me, and I remember when I was younger, I used to think, man, I know no one else's dad. I know none of my friends' dads are making their sons do this shit. Sorry, this stuff. I need to start changing my language because if I want more people to view my videos, I've got to definitely make it. I want to say child friendly, but you know, I've got a lot less of that, a lot less of the cursing. But yeah, and I used to think, man, I know no one else's dad's making their kid fold their trousers up like that. Like my dad was on me. Like if I came home and I was on my PlayStation and my trousers weren't folded correctly, bruh, I knew better than to even let that happen. You feel me? I knew better than to even let that happen. My dad would have roasted me. He did. My dad will get on to me differently, man. Even if I wasn't playing PlayStation, even if I'm lying there reading a book. Imagine I'd be lying there reading a book, and if my stuff ain't done correctly, my dad is on me like white on rice, boy. You feel me? So I had to, yeah, man. Growing up, I had to make sure my stuff was on point. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, you get older and that they relax. But the only reason they feel like, well, my parents relax. The only reason they relax is cause you get it. I know now. I know. So even if like I have an off day or something and I'm not really doing what I meant to do, everyone has the off days, but they know. Man knows. You get it. I can't say I don't know. And as an adult, you feel me? Yeah, you get given that responsibility. Well, alright. You get. I've raised you the best I could, and now it's up to you. You feel me to do it. So if you want to go around looking like whatever, cool. You're a man now, yeah. I can't tell you what to do, but just no one can't say I didn't show my man how to dress. No one can say I didn't teach my son how to fold their clothes up properly, how to bathe and clean themselves. You feel me? And obviously, as an adult now, as a man, I can definitely say, fam, my man raised me perfectly, and I would hope to do the same with my children. Well, how do we get onto this subject? Right, this is where we're at the moment. I'm just sort of adding more color and details to the Sakura trees. I don't really know if they need them outlines. I don't think they do. I don't think the trees need them outlines. The branches do, but the leaves and the flowers themselves they don't. And I think that would definitely help make it look more like softer, right? That's how I kind of determine whether they need the outline or not. Is how soft is the object that I'm outlining. If it's something like leaves, especially those ones, it's not really necessary. I mean, you can again. There's no wrong way, and sometimes I will. But in this case, I don't think I do really need to. I think it will look a lot better, especially when it's juxtaposed to the branches that do have it. You know, it definitely helps it look more, gives it more of that the look I want it to have. To say it simply. Um, Definitely put that down a notch. Yeah, so Amaterasu is a sun goddess. I personally just even like the name. Again, I think the first time I come across that name was I probably came across the name before, definitely, because like I said, I played a lot of like RPGs and Japanese RPGs especially, you know. So I'm pretty sure maybe it might have come across a sign. Like I used to play like on a Misha. on a mission tactics, on a mission warlords. You feel me? And as a Japanese game, I'm pretty sure they would make some sort of mention of a deity, even if it ain't, even if its law is more regarding the the, the like I said in the previous one, it's demons, but I know they got their own specific term to use them, and it's not all like the way we understand it. Again, they have their own sort of separate understanding, and they're not necessarily bad and evil the way as we understand it. There's more nuance to it. They're more like tricksters, and there's good and bad. You know, so like, but I've always found Japanese culture interesting, to be honest. Asia culture interesting, just the understanding of things, the music, the belief systems, the spiritual systems. The yoga, and the origins of yoga is something that one would find interesting. But a lot of things, if you didn't know, you know, they have their origins in Africa. A lot of stuff, but that's a different topic for a different day. You wouldn't. Some people will be like, well, of course. Other people will be like, what is he talking about? Yoga in Africa, but yeah, Kemetic yoga, or probably better known as Egyptian yoga. Kemet is how they would used to refer to ancient Egypt, and yeah, a lot of stuff is transported to all parts of the world through what people call the cradle of civilization, which would be Africa. But again, that's just a school of thought, and one thing you have to be wary of with all schools of thought is if someone opposes it, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't like you. Well, no, that's the thing is with schools of thought. A school of thought is simply a school of thought, and until you do your own empirical research and everything, and even then, like all that research you could do, you still could end up wrong, right? Because people could dedicate their whole life to things and would the less not know no better regarding certain things, But I feel like as long as one is genuine in their search for knowledge, and always keeps a sort of open mind, I feel like you're okay, and I feel like you get what if truth is what you're searching for, truth is what you get, you know. Yeah, so that's what it's looking like at the moment. I suppose I could start adding some. No, what I need to do is still I need to. I really do like how everything is actually cohesive this time. Everything's the way it's meant to be. Yep, love it, love it. Well, I mean, that part, not really so much. So wait, hold on. Yeah, see, so I've added that on both layers, but that's fine. I guess the ground and the background is the only layer that I seem to have got a bit confused with. But that's kind of actually alright because like you hear it in the name, background and ground. So it's not actually that bad. Like there's nothing that would need to be separated. But generally, it's like I said, it's a learning process. So it's it's alright. It's alright. If things don't go exactly how I want them to. That's one thing I've had to learn, things don't go exactly how you want them to go a lot of the time, man. Like no matter what kind of idea you have in your head. Like and that's not to say that you should just well nothing ever goes according to plan, so don't plan. You definitely can, but there's a saying that God laughs at your plans, there's always got to be something that you can't account for, something you didn't take into account, something you might not even been aware you needed to take into account. There's so many things that factorize into things not going how you thought they should, But rather than taking that as a sort of a bad thing, you know. I mean, because sometimes things go horribly wrong and we're like, oh well. But a lot of the time, it's just something we have to you have to live with. That's something you will learn to live with. I've had to learn to live with that things don't always go according to plan, you know. And a lot of stuff I thought, well, look at that. A lot of things I thought would a lot of things I thought would go a certain type of way. They didn't, you know. There's things that even now, like I wish went another type of way, but I know, you know, there's a higher intelligence that runs things beyond just me and my big head, right? There's things beyond that see things I don't, and those things, regardless of whether you think they're good or bad, is not the point. The thing is that things are in operation regardless of what you do. So sometimes you need to understand that even though you've done A, B, C, some of the things are still going to end up a certain type of way. But I think it's adaptability that is what humans are known for, right? Above all else, is our ability to adapt to things. So, you know, it shouldn't be anything that you cry over. You know, don't cry over spilled milk. You just keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you learn, man. Like I said, for me, it's always a learning thing. Things don't go on. If there's a lot of things I wish at the time, I'm like, oh, it's not going X, Y, Z, and now I'm looking back, I'm like, thank God it didn't turn out like that. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's like relationships or can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that relationship that you wanted to work out worked out? At the time you wanted it to work out, but now that you're a bit older and that you're like, whoa, man kind of escaped the bullet still. So, you know, it's all that kind of stuff, you know, whether it was maybe you wanted to get into a certain school or something and whatever, right? You wanted that job, you didn't get it. We've all come across something like that in our lives at some point, and I'm pretty sure life has definitely taught you at some point that maybe sometimes what you want ain't necessarily what's actually best for you. Sometimes, you know, you're thankful for the disappointment in the future. Looking, you know what I'm saying? So that's always something to keep in mind. I don't know how that's looking. That's looking kind of messy, to be honest. Yeah, that is looking a bit messy. I definitely would want it to. Yeah, see, but that looks alright. But I think it's just more so keeping a sort of consistent sort of pattern. So if I do it more like that, definitely looks a bit better. Damn, I can't wait to go home and get some food, man. That's what I can't wait to do, man. I can't wait to go home and actually eat something real nice. I got some veggie burgers in the fridge, vegan burgers, whatever you want to call them. They're like some pea burgers, and normally I don't really eat that kind of. Normally I'm a cook myself kind of guy, you know. But sometimes, man, sometimes you gotta. Sometimes I be on that bush, man. You know, like. But that's life again, innit? Like I feel like I struggle with balance. It's more something I struggle with, you know. So it's hard to like. There's nothing wrong with eating chips like on a Friday. I feel like you know I've always been that kind of guy. That's how I grew up. That's how my parents. That's how I was raised in it. Like Friday is cheat day in it. Friday you can have what you want pretty much. If I was ever eating McDonald's growing up, it was a Friday. It was a Friday. I would never ever get McDonald's on any other day. But a Friday, maybe I could get McDonald's, and even then, it wasn't all the time. You know, every other Friday. But I was raised on that. I was raised like that. I wasn't raised to. I mean, because I wasn't getting it as a youth. When I started getting my own money and I was allowed out, I was always eating that stuff because I'm like, wow, I got my own, you get it, I got my own money now. I'm coming home from school, or maybe even on my way to school. Like sometimes I would even by the time I get to school, I spent all my money. You know what I mean on junk already, and I'm just there eating custard creams throughout the day. And yeah, man, that shit ain't no good. But it's only because it's only because my mom actually did a really good job. Like my mom and my dad did a really good job making me eat clean for the most part. Like obviously my idea of clean has definitely changed as I've gotten older, and my diet has changed. You know, I wasn't raised to not eat meat, but at some point I just decided to stop eating meat. You know, and that's just that's just one thing. But the fast food life, yeah, that's something I wasn't. That was never like normal to me. You know, that never became at any point like uh fast food on a Wednesday, nah mate. You know what I mean? Like maybe if I'm coming home from college or something and like I was hungry. But even then, like by the time I got to like 17, 18, I had grown out of that for the most part. Like eating fast food wasn't something I would do normally. It would like I had been taught that in it. Like it's something I would have every now and then, just like the way I was raised in it. So it's very important, like you know how you're raised in that and the stuff your parents instill in you, because whether you like it or not, that's what you're gonna sort of be operating on. Like if you were raised to eat that shit all the time, you know it's gonna be difficult for you to more difficult for you to pack it in once you realize, hey, this stuff isn't good for me. I was raised to know that stuff wasn't good for me and to avoid it and only eat it in sort of, it was called emergency food. That's how my mum referred to McDonald's and fast food and stuff of that nature. Emergency food. So as I got older, it really only became emergency food. Like I would only buy that if well, sometimes, you know, maybe if I'm out of college on lunch break or something, oh, yeah, let's go to McDonald's and I'm with some friends, right? You know, with your friends and stuff, yeah, cool, you know, let's hit up McDonald's but on my own prerogative, right, it's something I would rarely do. I wouldn't really eat that stuff. You know, I would rather I know, and obviously, luckily for me, there would be food waiting for me at home every day. Do you know what I'm saying? So obviously, take that into account. That I was lucky enough to have my parents there to teach me the right way to do things. You know, because some people don't, and they still manage to get it right. So big up them people. Do you know what I'm saying? And big up everyone, innit? No matter where you're at your life, innit? Everything's a journey, man. Some things take people longer than others. Some things take longer than some things take long for some people, and there's certain things I need to work on. You get it, man. There's certain things that I definitely need to like get my act together on with. But like I said, as long as I feel like you got the right attitude, you're alright, man. There's not much you can't do with the right attitude. You know, no matter what it may seem like, you got the right attitude, you can fix that. Whatever you need to get sorted out, you can fix that if you got the right attitude. With the wrong attitude, you can have you could be the best, like you know what I mean. You could be the best player on your team, right? On whatever sport you're playing. But if you got the bad attitude, the wrong attitude, you know what I mean. You're definitely not going to be as valuable to your team because of that attitude, as opposed to someone who may not be the greatest in terms of his ability, but his attitude, he can become great, and his attitude alone will benefit the team in other ways. Do you feel me? So you know, let that be an encouragement to anyone in anything you're doing. You know, your attitude is very important, and yeah, I encourage everyone to have a good attitude regarding things. I'm not saying be positive all the time and stuff, but definitely, definitely, definitely definitely cultivate a good attitude. You know, to say to learn it is probably a bit of a simplification. That you know, again, that might be easier for certain people than others. You know, like I used to have a very terrible attitude. You know what I'm saying? My attitude used to be piss poor, and all my friends and teachers and anyone in my life, friends, family, who put up with me during that time when I just had a very poor attitude, big up them people, innit? Do you know what I'm saying? But like I said, like, you know, we go through stuff and the attitude of one is very, very important no matter what you're going through. Your attitude can definitely save you time, save you money, save your life. That's the most important thing. your attitude will save your life. So it's always in your interest to have a good attitude. So what I'm doing now is literally just adding more details. I want to start getting it looking pretty out here. You feel me? Yeah. How long has this been going on for? This has been going on for almost an hour. Damn. This might have to be split up into three parts then. I can't laugh, to be honest, because I'm not trying to let this go anything over an hour. Even though this has gone over an hour, but I mean, when I say an hour, I mean like at this point, let me say 2 hours, because I don't think this is going to be finished in the next hour. So that's fine, you know. It's not about the destination, it's about how you got there, it's about the journey. You know, the destination is important, I believe. Let me not say it's not important, but you know, I'm going for the sort of simple anime slash cartoon look. Yeah, I like the way that looks as opposed to the other one. Yeah, that's the kind of look I'm going for in this. So a lot of the style is gonna be kind of style like that. It's a very simple style, hence why I like it so much. It's just you're just able to get a lot of you know, and it's not like a lack of. Sometimes you know, simple things are the best. You know, that's how it is. Like the simplicity of something is can be just as what makes it attractive. Like, it has got to be like full of all these different components and you know all these mad layers and sometimes all you need is just literally a bit of just a simple the simple style is really what is that's definitely what captivated more as a child, you know. But there's probably a lot of reasons for that. I feel like when it comes to simple, especially more simple styles, for example, it allows other things to pop out more, like color. I feel like, for instance, color always pops out more with simple, more simple paintings, drawings, pieces, however you want to refer to them as. You know, I feel like that's what I would say. That's my observation. You know, definitely leave a comment if you feel like otherwise. Leave a comment regarding anything you feel like. You know what I mean? But yeah, I feel like when it comes to color, like bold lines and simple 1-2 tones are definitely what make a piece stand out more. Color, you know, talking about. But I'm pretty sure there's probably examples that would probably paradoxically con- contest with that statement. But again, that's art, you know, nothing's set in stone. And I could say one thing, and then there might be a whole example where I have to say otherwise. But color generally is it brings more attention to the color when stuff are more simple in terms of their line work and just even the amount of colors you use, right? Like everything will put more. If it's just like one piece of red as opposed to all these variations of red, and you know, especially if you're working with muted colors or watercolors, you know what I'm saying? It all depends. It all depends. Just give her some nipples. I'm wonder if this will come up as nudity. Will this count as nudity in YouTube's things? Am I allowed to be drawing naked, semi-naked women, people in my YouTube things? It's just interesting question that shall be revealed, no doubt. No doubt at some point. Let's give her some abs. She's been working out, right? You know, it's important to stay fit, and not that abs are well, they are a sort of an indication of working out, but not necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily. And we love our big women as well, so let's not feel like we're. But why do I feel like I even need to say that? Do you know what I'm saying? Why do I feel like I even need to say that? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, that's interesting. Something for me to reflect on myself. Anyway, I think we reached the end of this video. It's definitely gonna be cut up into 3 parts, definitely. But that's fine because you know what, man. Like I'm not in no rush to finish this off. I'm not trying to make no point. I'm trying to have a good time. This is a dope Barchem art, BKA Adobe sessions. What I intend to do at some point is, obviously these are nice and that, but some people might just want me to cut to the chase and they just want to see the process in a much faster way. A time lapse is what I'm referring to. Some people might just want to see a time lapse. So as long as I get familiar enough with Adobe, whatever it's called, the video one. As soon as I get a bit familiar with that, I'm definitely gonna make that. So there'll be 2 sort of videos. One where I do the piece by piece, where I can show you how I've done it. But that means if I do the time lapse, I'm sure that would mean that I have to do it in one session. But because this has been through multiple sessions, no, I'm pretty sure I can just do the time lapses and then put the videos together. So it'll be separate videos on the time lapse. I don't know. We'll get to that one once I get to that. How is that looking? I can add that back later. So it's looking alright. So yeah, this is how it's looking at the moment. This is Concept Amaterasu Part 2. If you've liked the process so far and you like me talking to myself, basically. That's basically what it is, right? I'm talking to myself. If you like that, if you've liked this video, enjoyed it, definitely give it a like. Maybe even subscribe if you want to see more. There'll be more than just the Adobe sessions, but this is definitely how I want. It's an easy way for me to put content onto my channel, you know, before I start coming with the more the cooler stuff. Even though this is cool, I definitely have 2 things in mind. Again, like I said, most of my work is practical. Most of my work is traditional art. So working with, you know, real paint, real canvases. The digital work is something I've learned very recently as an artist. So definitely, why would it do that? That's very strange. Yeah, definitely stay tuned. And like I said, if you like the work, definitely think about leaving a comment, leaving a like, even subscribing. And that's going to be it for now. Let's just see how that's looking. Definitely more work to do, but I think we're definitely getting somewhere. Cool. Thanks very much for tuning in. This has been BKA Adobe Sessions, Concept Amaterasu. I look forward to continuing this at the next available opportunity. Thank you very much for tuning in, and like I said, you know what to do. Have a lovely day, evening, morning, whatever applies to you, and see you next time. Peace.